welcome to this episode of Experts on Purpose. The guest we have today is Lisabeth Thomas. With over 30 years of experience creating successful advertising and public relations campaigns, and as an award-winning producer, Lisabeth continues to be regarded as one of the most respected women in her field. But after going through a tragic phase of her life, she uncovered the deep-seated fears that were sabotaging her life. But after converting her tragedies into triumphs, Lisabeth has now taken it up as her mission to help people outwit their fears. She inspires her audiences as a speaker as well as a workshop facilitator to dig deep to uncover their inner strength and power to create their best lives now. Hey, Lisabeth, welcome to Experts on Purpose.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So you're talking from Austin, Texas, is it?
I am in Austin, Texas. Actually, we live about an hour outside of Austin in a little town called Blanco, Texas. And it's got a little square and the courthouse in the middle of it. We live on 30 acres and it's just beautiful. And this week we're excited that we're going to wake up to 55 degrees, which is amazing for Texas. So we're excited about that.
You know what the funny thing is? Most of my clients are in the US and I haven't visited the United States yet. So that's definitely there on the cards once the COVID situation improves in India and I can travel freely.
Well, and the good thing with all that you do, you literally can just go to a couple major places and people can come see you and you can see what's going on. And yeah,
that's the plan.
That'll be exciting.
I would love to know more about how you got started, because right now I know you help people overcome their fears and all those things, but you had an illustrious career as a television and a film producer. So could you just walk me through your career from the beginning and how you made this new transition in the recent years?
Well, and again, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. And I went on your website and your success is so admirable. So I'm honored to be sitting with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've been in marketing and advertising since I was 25 years old. And that was a long time ago. I just had a birthday, so it was even longer ago. And I've had an amazing, wonderful life of advertising, marketing. I was a speaker. I did a lot of speaking in the 80s. And then I had an opportunity to work for the ABC station here in Austin, Texas in the early 90s. And that really gave me the producer bug. And then we were producing commercials and doing some work for the largest ad agency in Austin. And it might be in Texas, GSD&M. They're a $1.3 billion agency. So we were doing work for them. And the G and GSD&M, Steve Gursich, kept saying, you guys need to be an agency. You're really creative.
Right.
And I was like, no. I just want to produce, and I was we were doing behind the scenes at Robert Rodriguez movies, working for Miramax, doing things for Disney, here in American Idol. We were doing all kinds of things and having a ball. And they just kept sending us business. GSD&M just kept sending us agency business. And I think we were 6 clients in when we went, oh, I guess we're an ad agency now.
Wow.
So we didn't have formal ad agency training, but we learned through the ropes. And I think that really helped us because we weren't set in certain patterns and we were extremely successful. We had clients for 15, 18 years. I mean, which is kind of unheard of in what we do. Continued on the movie sets, continued doing production. I still do production today. And I married my partner, and this is where it kind of does a spiral. And I don't know if do you want me to go into my spiral?
Yes, of course. That's your full story, right?
That's my whole story. Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to go just dive right in. But what happened is I was married to my partner, who was my husband. And it's one of those that I in hindsight, I knew I probably shouldn't have married. When I look back and look at all of it, and I didn't. But I did marry him, but I shouldn't have. So during that time, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there was a mask. There was a mask of kindness and this, but behind the mask was not. There was a lot of negativity, a lot of meanness, a lot of that. And as this marriage unraveled, and I was so afraid to divorce because I had been divorced. I didn't want to divorce again. We didn't have kids together, but we had a combined family.
Yeah.
We had clients, and this is embarrassing to say, but one of the biggest things is that my identity was so tied to what I did for a living. And I don't know if you have authors and the people you work with that we tie ourselves, because people, what do they say? First time they meet you, what do you do?
Exactly.
And so I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And what if people don't like me because I'm not on movie sets? I'm not on the red carpet. What am I going to do? And finally, it just was to the breaking point where I said, enough is enough. And I couldn't do it any longer. I really couldn't do it. It was horrible. And during all that, it came out that we had 3 years of personal taxes that he did not file. And he was the operations person, not business taxes, personal taxes. And I don't know how it is in India and where you are, but IRS, and if it's 6, 7, 8 years of day-to-day interest and penalties on 3 years, that's a lot of money. Yeah. It's a lot of money. So as we divorced, he pleaded hardship. And so the IRS came after me and the business. And that's when it really blew up. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to keep it afloat as they were coming in and getting their money. And they put a lien on my house, which I had to sell to pay off that, to get all. It was one hot mess. So in April, I had to dissolve the business because I just couldn't do it anymore.
Right. I
just didn't have the money. And the biggest thing is I had lost so much confidence in myself. I'd lost my self-esteem. I lost my self-worth, all of it. I was just a shell of myself. So I lost my house. I dissolved my business. And then luckily in Texas, I didn't have to declare bankruptcy. I didn't have to. I could dissolve it. But I still owed people probably $250,000. I still owed money.
Right.
My mom died. So that was May. My mom died in July and then closed on selling the house in August. So in a 3-4 month span, all those things happened. And if you would have met me on the street and said, how are you? I'd have been like,
I can imagine, because it's not just one thing that went wrong, but it was like a cycle, right? One after the other.
Everything went. And luckily my kids were all grown up. They were, one's married, the other 2 were in college, on their own. So when I said I was homeless, luckily it wasn't my family that went homeless. It was just me that went homeless. And I had no money. I was at the bottom. My friends didn't even know how bad it was. They knew it was bad.
Yeah,
they just
but not that bad.
Not that bad. The beauty was my family believed in me, my friends believed in me, my clients, even though I had to call all my clients and say, I'm dissolving the business. I'm going to be no more. This is why. They still called me to do business, which was amazing. Yeah. Now I couldn't buy media in the market because I still, I owed people money, but we set it up that a girl that worked for me opened a media buying company and she would buy it through them. Only one station in town gave me grief. Everybody else was supportive. People offered me jobs. People were great. And the one station that was real negative to me was talking bad about me to one of my clients, a client that I'd had for 15, 16 years. And when they got done bashing me, he said, it's not like she took the money and went to Mexico. The girl's homeless. Right. She lost it all. Oh my goodness, give her a break. which was really wonderful that I wasn't being thrown under the bus.
Yeah. So how did you pick yourself up from that position and reach where you are today now?
Well, first, I cried a lot. So I'm going to go through, somebody asked me one time if I was depressed, and I said, no, because you can probably tell my personality. I'm not a depressed person. I didn't know what depressed looked like. I've never experienced it. Thank you. I'd never experienced it. And then I went, well, I cry all day at work. I stop at the grocery store. I pick up a really cheap bottle of wine, and I'm talking crappy wine. Okay. Not top shelf, bottom shelf, in a box, whatever I could buy. And I would drink a bottle of wine a night in my bed crying. Yeah. And I went, oh, maybe that's what depression looks like. Okay, maybe I am depressed. I was so pissed off at God. I was swearing. I was mad. I had another friend that called and said, oh, the IRS just forgave my debt. Blah, blah, blah. Isn't that great? And I was happy for her, but I was like, are you serious?
Why didn't they do that to me?
What? Right. I was so mad. So people did say to me, just dust yourself off. You can do it. You're Lisabeth, you can make it happen. And when you're in that spot, when you've lost everything, and this is a point I really want people to hear, you can't. I couldn't. How could I go out and put on a smile? I had worn a fake smile for so long that everything was okay. I would have been lying to people. I would have been out trying to sell, but been a shell. I had no creativity. So I grieved. And I think that's it's one thing that's really important. I allowed myself time to realize I lost my business, cried over my mom, my home that my family loved, and I grieved. But I think the key is I didn't stay there.
Yeah.
And that's the key. I think it's important that we allow ourselves to grieve our losses, because I started thinking, if I just shove them down and go, just dust myself off, guess what? They're in there still. Yeah. They're going to pop up, probably in a way I don't want them to pop up.
Yeah.
So rather than burying them, I let them out. Yeah. But there was a point, and I think this is another key important thing, is if you stay there is when you can't move forward. And when I realized that every time I told my story, I'm telling my story differently to you today because I'm on the other side of it. Yeah. But if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, you know what he did and what they, and then what you do is you'd
feel like a victim, right? In that situation.
Right. And that was my defining moment. When you just asked me how I got over it, is when I stopped blaming him, when I stopped blaming the circumstances, when I stopped blaming my mom for dying, when I stopped all of it, and I took responsibility. That was really eye-opening when I said, okay, what is my responsibility in this? What were my actions, and what didn't I do to make this happen? And that, I think, and I read a quote the other day, and I wrote it down. It's the moment you take responsibility is the moment that you can take action. It was something like that.
So true.
And that is so true, because you're not blaming everybody else. So it's like, okay, what do I need to do? And that changed everything for me. So that's when I started taking action instead of laying around drinking wine. I still drink wine, but not in bed by myself.
And not the cheap wine anymore.
Not the cheap one. I'm the third shelf up now. I'm not up here yet.
Yeah. So at what point did you realize that your real expertise is in helping people overcome their fears?
About when I was going through all this, I didn't realize that everything, even my whole life leading up to this, was I had fears. I had no idea. And here's the key. We're born with two fears. That's it. the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else we've learned. If we've learned the fear of rejection, or if we fear, fear of failure, fear of success, whatever it is, we've learned those. My two, and we basically have 5 fears, and I'm going to come back to your question, but we have 5 fears. Basically, everything fits into these silos. There's more, but they fit into these silos of fear of not being loved, fear of being alone, fear of trusting, and that's a lot for abuse victims, and that makes sense. Not worthy, and not being good enough.
Right.
And so even if I said to you, God, I feel I have a fear of failure, guess what? That fear of failure, which is really up here, would fall into one of those core, right? That would fall into not being loved or not being good enough. Well, when I started digging of what is wrong with me, why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I go out and make those sales? Why didn't I tell him, screw you? No, this is not going to happen. Why? When I discovered my 2 core fears are, to this day, they still are, not being worthy and not being good enough. And that's when I discovered that I've got to help other people, because what happens is I didn't even know that it was back here sabotaging me for my whole life, that I wasn't good enough. And when I look back, and I know your listeners, there's 99.9% of them probably, there's a point in time that they undervalue themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure you have authors, I bet, that you say, you need to do this, and you need to put that out there, and you need to charge for this. And they go, well, I don't, I really, maybe not. It's because they don't feel they were good enough, or they're worried. And once people peel away that onion and get down to that, and they realize that's back there sabotaging them, it changes their life. It changes their life, because then they can go, then they can deal with it. It's when you face your fears. I mean, mine still pop up. I'm working on we did a bid for somebody for a website the other day, and it came up for me. Well, I really don't, because she's a friend, and maybe I should. Well, what are you doing? You're so creative, Lisabeth. You're really good, and what you designed for her is going to make her thousands and thousands of dollars. Charge for your creativity. But I know that now. So when it comes up, I can talk to myself and deal with it.
Having that awareness, is such a game changer, right? The fear will still be there, but unless you have the awareness, you can't even deal with it.
Right. You have to face it. You have to say it. I was the queen of avoiding, and I used to laugh about it because I would sweep things under the rug. I wouldn't deal with them. And I laughed one day because I said, I think I tripped over the bump in the rug because it had gotten so big, because I didn't want to deal with it. But once it comes up, I immediately look at it and say, is this something from my past, from one of my fears, or am I just mad about the situation? What is it?
Got it.
So that's the first key. And man, that's a game changer. Total game changer.
I see sorry, go ahead.
Go, please, you go.
I see a lot of people in the self-help space talking about overcoming fears, but the terminology you use is outwitting fears. So what's the difference?
I'm not going to overcome my fear.
Yeah.
It's there.
Happen. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It probably showed up when I was a child. So guess what? I'm 62 years old. It's been with me for how long? It's going to be there. It gets less and less and less. But like I said, I've been outwitting fear, been working on this for 5-6 years now. And guess what? It still pops up now and then. So I outwit it. I know that it's there, and I go, oh, wait, I know you. You didn't work for me in the past. You're not going to work for me now. Maybe someday I'll overcome it. Maybe that is the end goal, to overcome it. But, when people say, oh, good, I know what it is, I'll never have it again. Yeah, you will. You've been carrying this around. Our habits.
That's a good way, to look at this concept rather than avoiding it or trying to eliminate it. You're accepting the fact that it's going to be there, but there is a way to work around it.
Yes. That's a beautiful way of saying that. I'm going to steal that, but I'll give you credit. That's but that's exactly it.
Right.
We learn these fears and we carry them, but that's the beauty of it. If we've learned them, we can unlearn them, but they're there. So we got to work our way around them. And, the beauty of it is that they're part of our lives. Our journeys are all our journeys. And those things that I learned through my fears and through my failures, through my homelessness, through all of it have built me to today. So I don't want to ignore them. I don't want to say, oh, that didn't happen. It's gone. No, I embrace it because what I learned from that made me who I am today.
Right.
So I don't want to push that away. I want to learn from it and be better.
Absolutely. One fear, which I am sure the listeners and the viewers are facing, is this fear of not being good enough, because that's why they're not really owning their expertise and really taking their expert-based business to the next level, because they kind of know that they are the expert in that topic, but they're not sure if they're good enough. So what would be a couple of recommendations or advice that you would like to give to people who are really not taking their expertise seriously and using it to help others because of this fear of feeling that they're not good enough?
Yeah. Your experience has made you who you are. So you're an expert at your life, and you have things that you have learned that you can share that will change somebody's life. You may not have the PhD. I may not, but guess what? I have experiences and failures so many people don't have. You have experiences and failures that nobody else has had. And I've had successes that nobody else has had. So nobody can be in my space. So I am an expert in what I've learned. Yeah. And your listeners are experts at what they learned. And that, I think, is our calling, our purpose. And this is the podcast, Experts on Purpose. Our purpose is to share what we've learned and how we've gotten through things and how we have succeeded. And that's what it is. And so it's up to your listeners in their books, in their podcasts, in their speaking engagements to share, because guess what? This is real. I'm going to back up. I'm the founding president of Texas Women in Business. We've been around 11 years. When I was going through all this, everybody had me on a pedestal of she had an ad agent, she's this, she's that, whatever. Yeah. Meanwhile, my life was crumbling behind the scenes, but I wore that fake mask. Everything's great. People that knew me knew something was wrong because they could see my eyes. They were like, right. Something's wrong. The day, I don't know why I was on stage, what I was doing, I don't remember why, because I wasn't the president at the time. But there's a couple hundred women in the audience. And I stood up to do something. And I said, I got to tell y'all what's going on. And I verbally vomited everything that had happened. Tears, everything. The freedom of sharing what had happened. I had a line of women that said, oh my God, can I talk to you? I'm going through a horrible divorce, or my son died, or my mother has cancer, or blah, 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 or my business is failing. And I just wear this fake mask and I'm dying on the inside. So for me to even share what I was experiencing gave so many women the hope that they could get through theirs. Yeah. So again, for your listeners, your authors, those that are thinking of writing a book, share your experiences because you will help somebody else. Again, you don't have to be the expert of the world, but be the expert of your world and share what you've learned to help others. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Because in today's age of social media addiction, we constantly look at influencers who have millions of followers, and we think that, oh my God, when they have a similar message and they already have a huge following, who's going to follow my message because I'm still so small, right? That could also stop a lot of people from really playing a big game.
So here's the question. Did they start with millions of followers?
No.
They started with one.
Right.
They started with one follower. And that's your whole thing. And guess what? If you only have one follower, you're helping somebody, but that one follower leads to something else. And so again, we do compare ourselves to others all the time. But you know what? There could be someone sitting right next to me that's talking about outwitting fear, right next to me. But how they share it from their experience is going to resonate with people out there. But other people, are going to go, I don't get what she's saying. The way I share it is going to resonate with others. So your story is going to resonate with who it's supposed to resonate for.
Yeah.
But don't compare yourself to anybody else, because you're you.
Yeah. And unless you share that message, you will never know who is it going to resonate for.
Right. It's like really exciting. And I'm a full believer in abundance. I mean, and there is so much abundance, and there's so many people that are craving knowledge that there's enough for everyone to do very well financially, spiritually, emotionally, to help others. So don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't get intimidated. And I'm guilty of that as well. I've got friends that are crushing it, and I go, oh man. And I look at their Facebook, I look at their thing and went, oh man, I wish I was doing that, but I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'm in my space. And guess what? Besides many of these people behind those social media posts, there's struggles, there's anger, there's divorces, there's financial problems. So don't be intimidated by the face of social media. They're putting out their best foot forward, like we always do.
Yeah, very well said. And thanks for sharing that message, Lisabeth. So once you decided that I'm going to help people because this is an important message that has helped me, so I want to share it with the world, how did you give it a structure? Like, how did you decide to help people? Did you start talking to them one-on-one, or what was your way of helping people?
Started speaking. I'm facilitating workshops, speaking engagements, being guests on podcasts.
Right.
I put it, and I actually, people keep asking me to write a book. And so you're going to be my person when it's time to write my book, and I'm going to come to you. And I am actually starting to put it together in my head, but I created an online course, and that's what I did. I put all of this into an online course. So I started somewhere, and I met with somebody, that's what they do, and they do really well. And then through social media, through speaking engagements, all of that is when I started building up the following for people to do my course. And the bottom line is I want everybody to figure out how to outwit their fear.
Right.
So, yeah.
So while doing this, do you also continue to be a producer?
Yes.
Right.
I still do marketing. The fun thing is that it is really nice not having an agency again, because I don't have that day-to-day payroll and just all of that. So now, as people call me, I do projects. I do more consulting, and I do projects. And the good news is the team that I had before, there was at one point 14 of us, that depending on the project is who I call, and we work together. So yes. So that creative juices come out that way still.
Nothing in life ever goes for waste, right? Like, what I mean is, you had built this team over the years, and you still have this fantastic network that you use whenever you have a creative project. And that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It is. I mean, I'm really loving helping people. That is my passion. But then when I look at it, I'm helping people build the business through their marketing. So I'm still doing that. Right now, it's balanced. So
yeah,
it is fun. And really, I enjoy it a lot.
Right.
So I do a lot of speaking engagements. People have been asking me to do one-on-one, because the course is online, but then I've got people, they'll call me and say, hey, will you do it live with me? And so that's fun too. I'll do one-on-one and walk people through, because there's a process to get down to your core fear that I have. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Right.
And I'll send you the link on me. I'll send you the link so you can do it if you're interested. It takes about an hour, and it'd be fun to just get your feedback on it.
I would love it. Do share it. Yeah. And I would also like to leave the links to your online course and the other things. So where would be the best place for people to find out more about your work?
Real easy. My website is lisabeththomas.com. And there's a link to outwittingfear.com there, or they can just go to outwittingfear.com. I have a podcast that I did. I only did 5 of them, called Courageous and Unstoppable You, which is, I
Mhm.
think what I'm going to do is the brand over all of this now as it's evolving, because that's what it is. It's being courageous to step through the fire, and then once you step through that fire, you're unstoppable. But right now I haven't changed any of that. So right now it's lisabeththomas.com. And
Right.
then and there's links to that, and I'll send it to you. The course I have, it's $97. I have it really inexpensive. It's a nice pair of shoes. It's a pair of shoes because I want everybody to do it, or a
Right.
really good bottle of wine. But I put in the promo code podcast so people could get 10% off.
Wow.
So I did that earlier today, so that when you do get post this, that people have that opportunity. But I'll send you the link so you can just do it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lisabeth. From this conversation, the real learning that I got is, as we go through college and all these years of experience in different industries, we gather a lot of knowledge and experience which helps people's lives in different ways, which is great. But when we actually hit the rock bottom in our life personally, in whichever area, whether it's finance or relationships or health, I think that has such a deep message. And if we can convert that learning into our expertise and serve the world like the way you're doing right now, that can become the true purpose of our lives. And you are such a shining example of that,
Thank you.
Lisabeth. So thank you once
Thank
again
you.
for coming on this show and sharing all the messy details of your life. And
I know it's getting easier to share. It is. It's getting easier to share. But again, I had to go through that to get to where I am today. So as
yeah,
horrible as it was, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Besides my children, of course, it's the best thing. Yes.
amazing. Thank you so much once again, and
Thank you.
all the very best to keep making this big difference to the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it.